In this video, we're going to talk about macros and triggers and how they can be used to temporarily change the door mode from card and PIN to PIN only. And then during that time, how you can enter a special PIN code to activate extended access and held open times. Okay, so where would this be useful? One example scenario would be an airport, and specifically the jet bridge door. Typically, this door is secured 24/7, and under normal conditions, the user walks up, they present their card, enter their PIN code, they're granted access, they walk through the door closes. And typically, if the door doesn't close within 30 seconds, then an alarm sounds. This works under normal conditions. However, when you're trying to load and unload passengers, you need a lot more than 30 seconds. So in this case, we need a means to be able to enter into extended access times. In our example, we're going to use a special PIN code, which will be 7777#. And this will allow us to hold the door open for up to 30 minutes. Before I walk you through the configuration of this example in ACM, let's first review the macro and trigger logic we'll be using. First, the user will present their valid card and enter the PIN code at the door. That will trigger the door mode to change to PIN only mode for 10 seconds and then restore back to card and PIN mode. If during that time the special PIN code is entered, the extended held open timer is activated. In this case, we're going to use 30 minutes for our extended held open timer. Now, if the door is open before the special PIN code is entered, the door will immediately restore to card and PIN mode. Okay, so now we're ready to walk through the configuration. Okay, so I've already logged into ACM, and before we get started with the configuration, I'm going to assume that you already have ACM up and running, that you have the door configured, that you have identities configured with the appropriate roles and access groups. So with all that said, the first thing we need to do is create the special identity that we talked about earlier. In this case, I named it JetBridge Extended. So you want to make sure that you've assigned the appropriate roles so they can get through the door where we'll be making the configuration changes. And then you're going to want to assign a token. In this case, you can assign any internal number. I'd pick something outside of your normal card range. And then here's where we're going to enter the 7777 PIN number. And once you do that, make sure you check extended door times. Next, let's go to the door configuration. So physical access and then doors. In this case, I named my door JetBridge Gate 1. Okay, here we need to make sure that we check log all accesses used. Okay, next we'll go to the Operations tab, and here we're going to set our extended held open time. In our example, we're going to use 30 minutes, which is 1800 seconds, as you see here. Optionally, you can set the held pre-alarm time. In my case, I set it for 20 seconds. And what this will do is 20 seconds before the extended held open time expires, I'm going to execute this simple macro that I created. And what that macro will do is activate the beeper inside the card reader. Additionally, the held pre-alarm time will also work with your standard held open time. Now we're going to go to the panel that the door is connected to configure our macros and triggers. So click on Panels. Click on Terminal A. Now we're going to click on Macros. Now we need to create two macros. So the first macro is going to change the door mode from card and PIN to PIN only, delay for 10 seconds, and then restore it back to card and PIN. The second macro is going to restore the door immediately to card and PIN. So let's take a look at the first macro. So there's going to be three commands. The first command, we'll see it's going to change the JetBridge Gate 1 door to PIN only. Let's go to the second command. Let's see that this delays for 10 seconds. It'll be the second command to be executed. Let's go back and take a look at the third command. And here we restore the door to card and pin only. Okay, so let's go back and look at our second macro. So this will just have one command in it. Click on the command here, and you'll see it restores the door to card and pin. Okay, so next, let's look at the triggers. Here we're also going to need two triggers. The first trigger is going to execute the first macro. So let's take a look at it. Okay, so we're going to execute the first macro, which is going to change the door to pin only, and then after 10 seconds, restore back to card and pin. The trigger is going to be formatted card number, access granted, full test used. Okay, so let's go back and look at our second trigger. Restore door mode after door is opened. So remember, this is if the user walks up, presents their card, enters their PIN, and then opens the door to go through, for a normal access scenario. We're just going to, as soon as that event occurs, we're going to put the door right back into card and PIN mode. So you see this trigger, it's going to execute when the door position change of state occurs. Okay, so when you click on door status secure, this field will pop up, and then you can select door just opened, no alarm. Okay, so that's it. Now you're ready to test. Thanks for watching.